morning, everyone. As I said, my name is John Clifford, and I've been responsible for organizing and facilitating this morning's session on simplifying and streamlining HR document management. Firstly, let me thank everyone for taking the time out this morning to attend, hoping that'll be insightful for everyone. I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we crack on, just to let everyone know this morning's session is being recorded. Feel free to reach out after the session if you'd like a recording of it. Typically as well, when we do these sessions, we like to try and make them as interactive and as engaging as possible. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to submit them. At the end of the session, we will enable a Q&A session. And on that note, I'm really pleased to be joined by two of my colleagues, Jakob and Daniel. Both are sitting in Copenhagen this morning. Good morning, gents.
Morning. Morning, John.
I just might ask you both maybe just to give a quick introduction to who you are and what you do before we get started, if that's all right. I'll start with you, Dan, if that's okay, please.
Yep, sure. So I'm Daniel. I'm a consultant in PXMSOFT, and that means that I'm one of the people who are the main drivers behind projects. So working with customers, setting up our applications, namely what we're going to be seeing today, but also other stuff that Jacob will tell you about at some point. And I'm here to show you the product that we're working with and talk about its capabilities and what it can do for you when it's done for other customers.
Thank you, sir.
Jacob. My name is Jacob. I'm the managing director for PXMSOFT, overseeing all the product within PXMSOFT. Been in Gavdi for 13 years by now and been working with our product offerings for the last 3 years or so. So very pleased to have the chance to showcase some of the great things that we have.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll hand it over to you, Jacob.
Yeah, let's do so. So I'll start by just giving a short introduction to what we will be looking at today. We will get a short introduction to PXMSOFT. Most of you might know Gavdi already as a company, but just putting a few words to what PXMSOFT is and what that does within the Gavdi group. Then Daniel will be taking over and giving you a demo introduction to easy document management. And then I'll be talking a bit about what is the roadmap for PXMSOFT, what products are in pipeline, and so on. And then we'll be handing over to a Q&A session that John will be facilitating. So that's the agenda for today. First of all, as said, some of you might know Gavdi already. Within Gavdi, we have different entities focusing on specific elements. So Gavdi basically delivers all our projects, being it SuccessFactors, being it ServiceNow, SAP on-prem, etc. So that's our project offerings and our project services. Then we have Gavdi Labs. Within Gavdi Labs, we are doing the custom developments based on SAP BTP or based on different SAP offerings, but that's the development side of it where we are cranking out custom developments for specific customer issues. The purpose and the focus of today is the offerings within PXMSOFT. So basically the lifeline between Labs and PXMSOFT is that once we have developments that reached a certain maturity, we turn them into products with a dedicated roadmap, a dedicated team focusing on the different product offerings. And that is what we do within PXMSOFT. So that is products available on SAP Store and which are certified and comes with roadmaps and development attention to each of these. We obviously have a long list of customers. We've just highlighted a few here, showcasing that we work across EMEA. We also work in other parts of the world. but mainly our focus is EMEA customers across the board. So we are supporting and delivering products to a wide list of customers. Some of these customers might be in the call today, and others are customers that we're working with on a continuous basis. As the quote says, we actually have happy customers, customers that is getting a real value from the product offerings within PXMSoft. So that is what PXMSoft is. It's a product line showcasing and developing real products to supplement the offerings that we have within the wider group. The notion and the reason why we are doing products is actually to close the gaps, so to say, left behind in some of the more standard offerings, primarily SuccessFactors. The product suite within PXMSoft, as it sits right now, are these 6 products that we see on the screen. We have, starting from also from a process perspective, starting from Easy Recruit. Easy Recruit is where frontline personnel, managers, other that are not frequent users of recruiting can easily start requisitions, start the recruiting processing in a fast and efficient manner. So that's an offering that supplements the recruiting solution. Easy Hire is then when you have potential candidates already in the pipeline. You might have walk-ins, you might have candidates that you engage with in other means than just via the recruiting module. Then you can, via the Easy Hire, initiate contract creation and actually employee and employee creation within SuccessFactors as well. So that's Easy Hire. Then we have Easy Apply. Easy Apply is a supplement to the already existing recruiting solution, and that is a focus on optimizing and customizing the candidate experience, making sure that when the candidate meets the customer, that we have a tailored approach to that experience. The purpose of today is our Easy Document Management solution, and that is our comprehensive contract and document solution, where we are streamlining the contract and document creation within SuccessFactors, but also the storing and the compliance around getting documents safely stored. Once we have candidates turned into employees, then we also need to start looking at the skills and the certificates and all the compliance going into having employees in the system, and that is where Easy Certify plays a role. So that is a really comprehensive tool, managing all the skills, all the certificates for compliance, auditing, and license to operate scenarios. So that is a very comprehensive supporting and handling skills for the employees within the organization. And then lastly, we have a product called Easy Organization. And one of the gaps within SuccessFactors is that the insights and the restructuring of organization elements and organization setup within SuccessFactors is not really well supported. That is a import-based solution standardly. So Easy Org is the solution that allows you to get the insights into your organizations, but also start doing drafting and validating a potential organizational change and then commit it into the system. So that is the full flow of and the full view on the product offerings that we have within PXMSoft today. But for the purpose of today, we are looking at Easy Document Management, and as said, that's the contract and document creation and the storage. The way that each of these products, from an architectural point of view, are supported and facilitated is via a product offering from SAP called SAP Business Technology Platform. So that's a fully consolidated platform that hosts the solutions and the products that PXMSoft develops. So that goes in a really detailed way, hand in hand with the offerings that SAP has in store. So our product sits in the BTP platform, And then the products that we develop then comes with its own set of capabilities for what we're looking at today. We have the document management dashboard, we have the actual application, and then via the connectivity elements within the BTP, we then hook up against, in this case, SAP SuccessFactors, but it could essentially be any system sitting outside of the BTP framework where there is OData available. So we do have use cases and customers where it's SAP on-prem. We do have use cases where it's ServiceNow that is the external party that we interact with, all run on the BTP platform. And then obviously the solutions are then accessed via, in all cases, mobile applications. All our products are mobile enabled and running on mobile entities, and obviously also running on your infrastructure, hardware, desktops, etc., so that the end users can seamlessly access the solutions in the product. So that's the very high level approach to the architecture behind, and each of these products are then licensed for your usage. So any customer will have own BTP infrastructure, so that all data, all usage is fully segregated for the specific customer use. And I think that's the fly-in to the product side and how we host it. And I'll hand it over for Daniel to narrate a bit about how the easy document management is then put in motion.
Yep. Thank you, Jacob.
Thanks, Jacob.
So what you are about to see is easy document management, as Jacob mentioned, and that consists of 3 separate modules. These were all developed as separate products, and then we later combined them into this big offering. All of these are connected directly to SuccessFactors, meaning that we make use of the master data residing in SuccessFactors at any point in this cycle. That means that all of your data stays in SuccessFactors, all of your point of truth is still in SuccessFactors. We never keep copies of the data, essentially. The big box that you see here with the dotted line is EasyUAA, our access control panel, and that connects to SuccessFactors role-based permissions, meaning that we set up roles in our application that are directly linked with role-based permissions. That means that once we have actually set up who should be able to see what and for who should they be able to see it, all of our management stays in SuccessFactors. When we add new users, we do it on the SuccessFactors side. The other 3 boxes we have here are put in this order to signify the journey that a document typically takes. Easy Documents is our document generator, where we have adaptive templates. We simply set up business rules that say if your master data is this, then you end up with this contract, or this segment in your contract, or this clause in your contract. Once that is generated, we pass it on to our module called Document Lifecycle Management, which receives these documents and passes them through the cycle that is designated for that template. That could go through approval, either by a manager, HR manager, matrix manager, any custom relationship really. It could go through signature. Again, it could be any custom relationship, or it could be a single person. For example, if you always have your CEO or a department manager signing it. And lastly, it gets passed on to our archive. Our archive is very strict in the form of it only contains finished documents. We never have any documents that are being worked on. The proper procedure in our policy is that should be a new version of the document. We also have some automated retention policies on the archive side that look at actively when was the document created and when was the employee terminated. That means that we can set up a rule that says, after 2 years from termination, delete this document permanently, allowing you to stay compliant with any local legislation. Of course, again, we have some business rules we set up here saying if you're from a specific country, then one rule applies. If you're from another country, another rule applies. You'll also notice in the bottom here that it says external signature vendor and external storage provider, and that's because we are very agnostic when it comes to where do we actually connect with. For signature vendors, we connect with, I think, 8 currently, namely Adobe Sign, Docubit, DocuSign, all of the bigger players as signature vendor, but we're always open to make new integrations with those. For Easy Archives, we primarily see people use Azure, Microsoft Azure, as their storage container, and that enables you essentially to keep your documents. So we are never in control of your documents. So even if you should decide to break the relationship between PXMSoft and your company, you would still have access to all of your documents on your own service that provides storage for you. With that, I am going to steal the screen away to show off the actual product. This is hopefully a scene that is familiar to most of you. It's the homepage in SuccessFactors, where we have the good morning page. Of course, yours might be a different color and so on. We have all of our daily tasks and all of our links to various useful features. I am currently logged in as Chris Crown, and he is a HR administrator for our fictional company here. And I'm going to be using him primarily to take us through the processes here. What I first want to highlight is that our access to the dashboard that grants us access to these three modules we talked about can really be placed anywhere that it's convenient for you. We have it here in the drop-down menu. We can search for it in the search bar up here, Document Management Dashboard. We can access it through employee files directly from the Actions menu, Generate Documents and Browse Documents. We can get through it from the org chart, showing more actions. We have Browse Documents and Generate Documents. But I am going to choose the biggest option here, the biggest button, which is our link simply here on the home page. Opening this takes me to our dashboard. So while it's loading here, what it's doing is checking what roles do I have in SuccessFactors, and then it tells the system what tiles it is allowed to display for me. And once that is loaded here, we can see that there are 4 lanes of tiles. All of these are very similar to how it looks in SuccessFactors in order to give the user the experience of not leaving the system. It should be obvious that they're still working within the SuccessFactors space. The top up here, how many tiles is that? 7 tiles here relate all to document generation and document process. So the 2 tiles we have here, both called document generator, have the difference in that the standard one here connects to our SuccessFactors users and Employee Central and all of the other entities we may have tied to our active users, while this one that says recruiting is only connecting to our recruiting module. That means it can draw data from requisitions and from candidates and from offer letters and so on and so on. The next 4 tiles here are for our process status. That means once we have started the process of a document, we will get updates here on things that are relevant to us. So documents we are stakeholders in, we get updates on. If we have requested approval on a specific document from someone, we can see whether or not it's still pending their response. Last one is deletion requests, which is a 4 eyes principle for our archive. I'll show you that in a second as well. That someone that has the same rights as me, being able to delete a specific document, needs to approve that that document gets deleted. So it's never one person that can go rogue or similar and just start deleting employee documents. The next row we have here is insights, where we have documents about to expire and documents compliance. And these 2 tiles are created so that you can stay on top of what you have going on in your business, essentially. So outside of creation, outside of your data at rest, essentially, we can stay in touch with what's happening. Documents about to expire in here tells us whether or not a document is approaching its deletion date. And that's according with these automated retention policies. So we can see here that there's a photo for the user H. Henderson that was created on the 9th of October that is bound to be deleted or expire on the 23rd. Anything that appears in here is because it's going to expire within the next 30 days. The other tile here was documents compliance, which essentially counts how many people have the correct documents. On our system here, we have it set up that our employees in here should always have the document type called contract. And we can say we only want to see active employees. And anyone that appears in this list means that they do not have a contract attached to them in their personal archive. We can, of course, search for employees. If we have multiple things we're looking for, we can select what document types are we actually looking for in here. Moving on to seeing some actual action in here, we have the archive tiles. So as Chris Crown, that I'm logged in as, I have access to all of our fictional employees in here through the document browser. You'll notice up in the top here that we have some tabs, and they actually represent the exact same tiles that we just saw alongside this document browser. So we can switch between them easily inside here. What tabs are available to you is again based on your role. If you are a manager, you will have My Team's document. If you have access to your own documents, you will also have My Documents up here. As Chris Crown, I also have access to inactive employees, as you can see. So if we have an employee that was terminated, but we are still keeping files on them, we of course have them available in here as long as we are a part of HR staff or we don't only have access to active employees. I'm going to search out Hugh Henderson that we also saw before in the Documents About to Expire tab. And I'm going to highlight that we would also be able to search for departments. So if we wanted to find everyone that works in operations, we could simply search for operations up here. If we wanted to be operations UK, we could search for the code. We could also search for it as a whole. We could also search for division. When I click Hugh Henderson here, we are going to be taken to his personal archive or his employee archive. And in here, we can see that there are 2 contracts. There's a photo and there's a passport. We can see and we can sort for this on the top here. We can sort by category. Do we only want to see the employee relevant documents? That should be passport and photo. Or do we want to see the employer candidates? These categories are, of course, adaptive to your business. So if you have a structure already that you would like to keep once we start implementing, this is what we will do. It is not locked into these in any way, shape, or form. The same goes for document types. It is always based on what you need as a customer. When we have documents in here, we're able to open them. So if it's a PDF, a text file, or an image, we can always preview it in the browser. You can see that I also have a variety of buttons that I can take action on this document. And there's retention policy applied. We can see creation date and so on. We can view the metadata attached to this document as well. That tells us where does the document come from, what business unit was this person in when the document was created, what department, what countries are they from, what was their name at the time of this, and of course all of the standard data. So what type of file is it, what's the effective date, the creation date, and so on and so forth. The other options we have here is download, delete, share, and then there's a little button here with an eye icon and it says release. Download, I hope makes sense to all of you, that that means that we want to retrieve the document and have it on our unit, but it does not allow us to change anything about the document that is actually in the archive. That is for us to have our own copy of this. So if your users need to have access to their own archive, they can go in and they have full control of what documentation that they want to have. The delete button is grayed out right now because there's a 4 eyes principle on this document. That means I'm not allowed to delete it on my own. Someone else that has access to delete this document needs to approve it. The next button is the share link, which creates a direct link to this specific document. That means that if I have a colleague that needs to see this document or needs to check up on this document, I can provide them a direct link to this document. Should the link get out of hand and fall into the hands of someone that shouldn't have access to it, they will be blocked by this. So if you do not have access to both the person you're viewing and the document type you're viewing, this link will essentially be useless to you. The last option here, if we click release, by the holding release, I'm just going to start over that process, is intended for legal hold. That means if we have a legal dispute with an employee, we can pause this automatic deletion that we have going in our archive. So if there's a terminated employee, the countdown has started on the retention policy that says 2 years from now, this document will be deleted. There's a legal dispute, so we need to ensure we don't delete it. HR admins can go in here, provide a reason for why should this document be held, and press the hold button. When other HR staff and HR admins then go in here, they will see this little info icon and the release button if they have access to release it, of course. on the holding reason, they can see what was the reason that was input by the other user. When the 2 years then expire, so the document should be deleted, it will instead be kept until it is released. So once the legal dispute is over, the HR admin may go in here and say, dispute is now over. And as soon as the program picks up, or our application here picks up that the retention policy has expired, which shouldn't take long, it will be permanently deleted because it is past its expiration date. To upload documents, we of course have to inform on what type of document are we uploading. So by pressing the upload button here for Hugh Henderson, I first have to choose what type of document am I uploading. I am going to upload a new contract on behalf of the employer. And I simply select what type of document is it. We have a drag and drop feature here, and we can of course also use browse, which would open our Finder or our Windows Explorer, File Explorer. I have prepared in the background here, so I only have one document that I will simply drag in. Actually, before that, I'm going to change the effective date here and say it starts on 1st of November. So dragging it in, it will instantly begin uploading because I have instant upload enable. That can of course be disabled. Going back to view his archive instead, we will see that the document has actually been renamed according with our naming policy. So now it's, instead of being called HR dummy file, which is what I uploaded, it's still noted below. It is now called contract H Henderson, which is his username and user ID, and then the effective date. So it says 1st of November instead of today's date. It still notes what day was it created, what day was it uploaded, and it knows by who was it created. The My Teams Documents tab, just to jump back a bit here, allows managers access to view their direct reports. Chris Crown here is registered as a manager, but he doesn't actually have any direct reports, so he can only see himself in here. If we had direct reports in here, we would see a list of them. My Documents, pretty self-explanatory, is where Chris Crown can see his own documents. There's none right now, but there may be a discrepancy in what he has access to. So as an HR admin, for some people, he may upload and edit some documents. For his direct reports, he may upload or edit specific documents. And for himself, we typically set up that you're only allowed to view your own documents, since it should be in the hands of the HR administrators or similar, unless it's something like passport or ID photo. Going back home, let's take a look at the document generator. You will also see that our documents about to expire increased because I uploaded some new documents, and we have some short retention policy set on this system. Inside the document generator, as Chris Crown here, I have a lot of options because I am an HR administrator. But the first thing I need to do in any case is select what employee do I want to generate a document for. And I'm going to select Hugh Henderson again because I know his data is fulfilling for these demo purposes. Other than selecting who I'm actually working with, I need to, of course, select what am I working with. And we have a bunch of different options in here. Proof of employment, welcome letters, new hire contracts, generic contracts, and so on. I'm going to choose employment contract. That's our most basic one. And let's select the same effective date again. It's important to note that creating the contracts in our program here doesn't change the master data. The master data for Hugh Henderson's new position here should be changed beforehand in SuccessFactors because we're working with effective dated data. That means when I generate this contract, it will select a variant of this contract based on his master data. And in our case here, it's been set up that if you are at level VP or above, you will have a car as part of your contract. You see here in the left section that we can see what elements or what sections are actually part of our document here. That there's number 5 is salary with a car. All of these numbers, so a salary, working hours, and so on, are taken directly from the employee profile. So this is actually coming directly from Hugh Henderson's profile. That includes his job title here as VP Sales Representative. If I go back in time to say 2021, at the same date, I need to actually press it. There we go. We will see that that is before Hugh Henderson had the title of VP Sales Representative. We can also see there's missing some variables. So if we select that we want to replace these variables, at that time, 1st of November 2021, there was no bonus amount set for Hugh Henderson. So we can input that. This is something that we can choose whether or not it's allowed to manually input these variables or not. But now when we generate it in a past date, when he wasn't a VP, he has no car and salary is without a car down here. In these text elements, there's also some other options for me. As an HR admin, I'm allowed to do some stuff that other people are not. And also it's specific to the template, of course. Date of accession, I am, for example, allowed to edit, but I'm not allowed to remove the section entirely. Whereas salary section, it has been enabled that I'm allowed to remove the entire segment. If I press this off, it means that when I generate the contract, it will not include this segment. Of course, we want to keep it on. If I make corrections in here, we can say that he's actually supposed to start on the 5th of November, even though the contract is effective dated 1st of November. Let's put it back to read mode, and it will now have updated it. To ensure that our contract looks correct, we can also preview the PDF version of it. So with this, I can see what will my contract look like when I actually generate it. You see that it's effective dated by 1st of November, but down in date of accession, it still says 5th of November as I created it. It automatically pulls his address, his name. It automatically pulls his department and everything from his profile. The other two options we have down here in the bottom is to set which processors are there for this document and which envelopes are there for this document. Processors will allow us to select who should be involved if we're deviating from the standard. So for this document, there's a standard flow setup that requires an approval and it requires signature. If I don't do anything here, it will go to our default, which is set up to be, I believe, the nearest manager and the department head. We have also set up that we are allowed to have alternative approvers, and these are set up to only be HR staff. This could also be set up to only be CXO level or similar, meaning that if our potential approver is on vacation or is on sabbatical leave or similar, we'll be able to choose a deviation from this. In order to avoid switching profiles a bunch of time, I'm just going to choose Chris Crown, who I'm logged in as, because he's an eligible approver stand-in. That means that once I generate this, it will go to my own approval, but it will still be logged that I had to approve this. The same goes for signature. If it needs to be overridden, that it should be Chris Crown, I can set that up. If it should be someone else, I can of course search for alternative signers here. Go to cancel to avoid setting a signer, select Chris Crown here again. The other option we had here was set envelopes, and envelopes are a way for us to put extra attachments on our notifications. So throughout this process, our stakeholders, meaning the person who generated the document, the person who approved the document, and the person for whom the document is for, will be able to receive notifications. They are, of course, custom, so it's something that we can adapt to your visual identity with your brand. I have two options here. I have either add or replace. Adding an envelope means that besides what's standardized for this flow, I want to add the example envelope. If I choose replace, it means that we will be removing what's standard for the flow and only using the one that I have input here. When I start processing, I'll get a small pop-up in the bottom saying what happened to this document now. And in our case, it'll say it was sent for approval. This confirms with us that we are following a flow, that we actually got caught in something. Otherwise, we'd be thrown an error. Now it says document sent to approval, and I set it to be Chris Crown's approval, who I'm logged in as. So when I go back here, we should see these tiles update, and it says one document is pending my approval, and there's one document I've requested approval on. Of course, that's the same document because I'm both the requester and the approver for this. Going into the status here, it loads into what I have waiting my approval, of course. We can see who are the stakeholders for this document. We can see the manager is Martha Manson, the requester is Chris Crown, me. The employee is Hugh Henderson, the approver is also me, and the signer will be Martha Manson because that's the standard it's set up to. Clicking it will allow me to review it. I can also review the metadata that will be sent along with it. Not all of this is not all of the metadata that will be attached to the document in the archive because it will supplement it from the user's profile as well. I can then, as an approver, go through here and check if there's anything that looks wrong or is missing or similar. And based on that, I can choose to reject it with a reason that then goes back to the requester, the person who created the document, or I can approve it, meaning it goes on in the flow. Because I'm an HR admin, I also have access to view status of documents. And if I go in here, I can see what documents I'm a stakeholder in and see the status of those documents. This is the one we just created. You can see a few days ago there were some more created. But going in here, we can see that the status is that signature has been requested, and we can see all of the other steps that it has actually gone through. We created a draft. We requested approval. It was approved. The requester was notified after the approval. That's an email I have on my other monitor right now. And then we requested the signature. So all that's missing is that sign needs to be completed. And from that point on, it will move in to archiving. Going to document details, we can again see the metadata here. And we can preview the document. I'm just going to find the emails I got on my other screen and open them for you to see. Because in my demo mailbox that I've set up on my other screen, I received an email for Adobe Sign. And that's because our demo system is set up with Adobe Sign. You can also, with Adobe Sign, you can also see that our requester is João Pinheiro. That's one of our developers who has set it up in his name. Of course, it would say your company name instead. Going down to the bottom here, it's the exact same as any other digital signature. We input that Martha Manson is signing this because she's signing as the employer, and we click to sign. We get redirected to our own screen that says the process will proceed, and I have now received another email. So this email that I received here is on behalf of the actual employee, so on behalf of Hugh Henderson. Going to the bottom here, we can now sign as Hugh Henderson. And once we click to sign, we will be redirected to the same page that confirms that the document was received by our system. And now we hope that it responded fast. It did. If we then go to check the status again, we can see that we have completed all of our steps here. Our stakeholders, meaning Martha Manson and Hugh Henderson, have now received an email that the signature process was completed. So they both have received on their email signed copies of the agreement, and it has been archived under Hugh Henderson's profile. So going back here into the document browser, we have just increased by 1 by how many documents there are. We find Hugh Henderson again. We are now also able to see that he has a new contract here. And that is the one we just generated. That is, in essence, the entire flow we have in here. Of course, there's a lot of quirks. There's a lot of differences in what you can do in this system. You can skip the approval. You can skip the signature. We can enable self-service and so on and so on. When we generate from a requisition, we of course have to choose the requisition. We can only choose candidates that are attached to the requisition. But it is in essence the exact same flow that we go through. One of the differences that we have when using the recruiting document generator is that we can set up a automatic employee creation, meaning that once everything has been passed through correctly, so all of the signatures has been granted, all of the approvals has gone through, and finally the candidate has signed. And finally, when the candidate has signed, it will automatically create our employee in Employee Central and in SuccessFactors and automatically archive it to that employee, because of course we can't archive a document to an employee that doesn't exist yet. Another Another smaller feature that we have, or additional feature we have, is the ability to mass generate files. Some of our customers use this, for example, for performance reviews and for bonus letters, but it essentially allows them to generate documents for thousands of employees at a time. So by selecting, we want to generate for everyone in a specific department, in a specific division, in a specific location, they can select, I think my session is timing out. We can select that all of these employees should have a personalized document of this type. That means that all of the documents, if I generated proof of employment for 8 people, for example, you can see here it's pay reward, Emma Eagle, George Gallagher, Jonah Jacobs, and so on, will all have pay rewards with their own names and their own master data on it, while I only actually had to press the button once. I think we have some time left over, so I will actually show you a self-service part of this as well. Just going to open it on my other monitor so you can be spared the details of me proxying to other users. So I am now logged in as Hugh Henderson, as we have seen before with Chris Crown working with him, and I also have access to the document management dashboard. Again, it's evaluating what are my roles, what am I allowed to do in the system in order to show me some tiles. And I am allowed to generate documents also for recruiting. I'm allowed to see process on the documents, and I'm allowed to see my own documents. But in contrast to Chris Crown, when I go to the document generator, I'm only able to select myself because I don't have access to other people as a user of this. Selecting document types, I'm also only able to select proof of employment because I'm not allowed to generate a contract for myself, of course. Creating the work area will generate my proof of employment for myself. Now there's some variables missing because I have a wrong data type on job title. But we can see that it generates a standardized document for me, and it is automatically signed by my direct manager. If I start processing this, it will bypass anything called approval and signature and go directly into my archive because, of course, it's my document and I'm allowed access to my own data. I can then find it under my documents in the archive in a moment. And it is sorted as a miscellaneous document for myself. That is it from my side. So if Jacob, if you have anything.
Simply, no, I think the only thing that to supplement is earlier this solution also runs on a mobile device, meaning that we do have some customers for whom the upload functionality is used as a scanning service. So if you have managers or anyone in the front line that needs to archive documents ad hoc or in a given situation, they can use the application, scan the document, and then it'll be directly archived into the archive without any without the document having to be stored on the mobile application, on the mobile phone. So that is really smart if you have situations where documents, contracts, whatever needs to be archived on the go, so to say. So we do have scenarios where that really supplements the process. But not other than that, Daniel, thank you for the demo. I'll just take over the screen again and be jumping back, and then ask you, Daniel, to put a few words on the roadmap coming for easy document management.
Yes, so this is the first 4 here is stuff we already have completed in our latest version, where we have these deep links that you also saw in the demo. We have some custom SuccessFactors relationship support. So if you have your own definitions for matrix managers or HR managers and so on, we support that. Another recent addition is ServiceNow integration, meaning that you can actually send these prompts from Oh, Jacob.
Sorry.
You can actually send these prompts from ServiceNow. So going into ServiceNow, you simply search up that I want to create a contract. You select for who in the exact same way as we did here, and it sends it to our system and then sends it back to ServiceNow. We also have some payroll and payslip vendor integrations, meaning that payslips automatically go into the archive. And then we reach the more exciting part here, which is the coming stuff in next release and next releases after that, where we have our external integrations to our other products, meaning that we can connect with Easy Certify, that, for example, certificates should be stored in the archive as well. We have embedded analytics, allowing you to see how many documents of which type have we ever created, how many people have this many documents of this type, and so on. We are looking into implementing PIT 11. PIT 11, I don't know what to call it.
The Polish
functionality.
Polish request, yeah.
Where we have to, and the request is really that recipients of documents have to approve that they have read the document or at least received the document. So we're looking into how to make that work. We also have some S/4HANA integration. We have proven that it's possible for us, so we're looking into standardizing it as well. Then we have a big one that is access to documents after ended employment, because terminated employees, of course, no longer have access to SuccessFactors system, but they still have a right to view their documentation. And we're looking into how should they be able to access that. We are looking at becoming more software as a service enabled so that we are more consistent in how we deploy. We have, of course, a sharp eye on wanting to fix bugs and errors and so on, and getting this alignment ensures that every customer gets it in the same quality at the exact same time, instead of us spending time on getting this out to individual customers. Lastly, we have our guided self-service portal, which is intended to simplify this last bit I showed you, where Hugh Henderson went in and generated a document for himself, that it should be a more user-friendly experience, because it is a very HR-oriented process as it is right now, and it should be as simple as going in and say, I want to generate a document for myself of this type, and then everything happens.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, Daniel. I'll be taking over and putting a few words on the roadmap for PXMSOFT as such. You saw the products that we had in line starting the session. Some of the things that we are working on right now in the team to be pushed out later is a product called Easy Planner, basically taking the full planning and scheduling process into something that's much more simple. Today, you have either UKG, Kronos, Workforce Software, other larger planning tools that comes with both a large price tag, but also fairly comprehensive functionality. And we think there is a gap actually for a planning and scheduling solution that ties into time off, timesheets, and so on, actually making you able to plan and schedule your workforce. Easy Survey is another one where we see a gap in the current product offering, and that is basically just supporting survey and insights tool in a much more dynamic and flexible way as currently is. There were the Qualtrics offering a while back that is, for different reasons now, not part of the equation any longer for SuccessFactors, and therefore the survey functionality is an obvious place for us to build a solution. And then we have a dedicated team right now working on an onboarding solution, actually trying to improve or complement the current onboarding offering from SuccessFactors. Not that it's a bad offering, but it comes with it's tailored around some very geographical specific scenarios where there is, in our opinion, a gap for a more tailored onboarding solution. And this is definitely not where it ends, because as mentioned earlier, we do take in and mature customer developments, if there is a market for a product. So if any of the products that I mentioned initially, or any of these products is of interest, then please do reach out.